I'm grateful to the foods I used to reach for. Genuinely, deeply grateful. Not grateful the way you thank a hard lesson. Grateful the way you thank an old friend. And if that sentence just made something in you flinch or roll your eyes, good. Don't go anywhere though, because tonight I'm going to show you it's the sanest sentence I know. And before this hour is over, some of you are going to say it to yourselves and mean it. Welcome. This is the opening of the new season of the Quiet Hour, which lives inside the magic for now, every lecture and every recording, whether you ever attend a single call or not. If you're here live, I see you. If you're watching this recording later at midnight in your favorite chair, maybe because someone who loves you sent it to you. And by the way, this one is free to be sent out. I'm going to let you guys know that right now. I really want people to understand what this is all about and hopefully join the magic. Then you are exactly who this was made for. Welcome. You needn't have anything to walk in with. No background, no homework, no vocabulary. Everything you need, I'll hand you as we go. So if you have it, please go get a pen and some paper. And just FYI, an envelope works just fine. Doesn't have to be a lot of space, just a place for you to write a few things down. So there's a moment tonight where the writing matters and I want your hands ready. And while you're settling in, can you drop a word in the chat for how your body feels right now? Not how you think you should feel, but how you actually feel. Tired, curious, skeptical, hopeful. Oh my gosh, Sonia, what are you doing to me? Another class? Drop it in the chat thread. We'd love to hear from you. Now, most of you have walked with me for years, and you've heard me play the whole orchestra, the myriad reasons we go to food, all of it, all at once for years. So this season, we're doing something different, and here's the image I want you to keep. Have you ever tried to pick out the sound of one instrument tuning up inside an entire orchestra? One oboe in all that noise? That's the skill this season that builds. Every quiet hour from tonight on isolates one instrument, one thread, drilled all the way down. And tonight's instrument is the oldest one in the pit, the contract. What? What are you talking about? So let's go back to my crazy sentence and let me show you the truth underneath it. Those substances kept their promises. Available at 2 a.m, never judging, never late, never once, not once in decades did they fail to show up. I've had gym memberships, contractors, and a few relatives with worse attendance records. Unconditional consistency. Do you know how rare that is? Some of us have never had that from a single human being. So no wonder just stop never worked. Nobody warns you that just stop means ending the most reliable relationship you've ever had. And you don't end the relationship like that with a declaration of war. Every diet tried that, and we all know how the war goes. Tonight we ended another way, with a thank you. So this may not surprise everyone, but this might surprise a few people. Mine wasn't wine. It wasn't chips. Mine was nut butter, a food most of the world calls healthy, but I know several of you understand what I'm talking about. It didn't matter what the label said. There were 3 places in my kitchen where it lived, and my radar knew every one of them. A GPS with exactly 3 saved locations. If only my brain tracked my keys with that kind of devotion, and everyone knows that story. That's how I learned one of the most important things I teach. The label never decides. The body decides. There are foods considered healthy by others that are NF to me, not food, for me. And I had to listen to my body to know it. So, honest room, does your thing have hiding places? chocolate, popcorn, the thing with 3 spots in your kitchen? You don't have to name it out loud, just a hand or a yes in the chat. Think you understand what I'm talking about? Now, let me tell you what that relationship was actually like. Because if you're new here, I want you to know exactly who's talking to you. I could be surrounded by people who loved me and still feel my radar tracking those 3 spots. I could be mid-conversation and part of me was already in the kitchen. If you know, you know. And for years, I did what everyone does. I fought it. I banished it. I bargained with it. I white-knuckled past it. And I called myself weak every time it won. It never occurred to me to ask it a question instead. But years ago, I proposed something to a room like this one that took me a long time to grow into. I proposed we stop calling this an addiction, that what we're looking at is coping. You can call it addiction if you want, but tell me you don't think it's also a brilliant coping mechanism. Back then, I didn't have the whole sentence yet. Tonight, I do, and it starts with understanding where the reaching actually comes from. But first, some of you just tensed up maybe because gratitude is not what you feel toward this thing. What you feel is closer to hatred. It has a grip on you and you're furious at it. If that's you, you're allowed, and I want you to stay because this beat is for you. Because here's what I've come to understand. That substance never gripped anything. It has no hands. It was performing a service, a very important service. And your brain, being brilliant, built a consistent pathway to it. The grip you feel is your own wiring doing exactly what wiring does with anything that reliably works. The substance was just there, showing up, keeping its promise. So the fury isn't wrong. Fury is honest, and fury can be enormously motivating. It's just misaddressed. And here's the strange, freeing news. There is no correct address. There's no villain to send it to. By the end of tonight, I'm going to show you where that fury goes instead, and it's not where you think. So stick with me. We're 10 minutes in. So everything in this section comes from Sarah Peyton's work. Yeah. Her book, Your Resonant Self, and even more her workbook, which is a definite workbook, and it's really challenging to teach. I've taken 3-year-long courses with her that cover her workbook from different perspectives. But this shifted things drastically for me, and this whole hour walks in her credit. I think her chapter 11 on unconscious contracts with substances. I think that's what it is chapter 11, but in the workbook. But Sarah coined a phrase, unconscious contracts. Unconscious contracts. We also referred to them as core beliefs. Patricia and I talked a lot about it in the advanced recovery or the art of recovery courses that we taught. I love the contract language because a contract has terms and terms can be renegotiated. A contract is a vow a younger you made, under pressure, usually, to stay safe and stay loved. It reads something like this. I, Sonia, solemnly swear to something in order to something, no matter the cost to myself. And notice nobody signed anything. There's no notary. There's no paper copy in a filing cabinet somewhere. And yet we honor these terms more faithfully than most people honor their mortgage. So let me show you mine, my earliest one, long before food was ever involved. This was one that I pulled up when I started working with Sarah. I, Sonia, solemnly swear to stay small and not vertically challenged. To stay small in order to let my mom shine, no matter the cost to myself. I grew up with 2 performers. My dad, a ballet dancer and a choreographer, my mom, an incredible musician and opera singer. The house had exactly enough spotlight for 2, and I did the math early. I felt too smart, too bright, too much. So I stayed small and I stayed alert. I did my job. I watched. That was the contract. I kept it for decades. This is what little Sonia saw needing and did it. And I tell you that one first so you can hear how these sound before we ever get to food. Simple, loyal, brutal, and signed by a child. And when does a vow like that get written? Sarah has a name for the moment: alarmed aloneness. The felt sense of being alone and in alarm, singled out, on display, unaccompanied. It doesn't require a terrible childhood. It can be one afternoon, one party where everyone was dressed right and you weren't. One time you came home glowing and nobody looked up. In that moment, a younger you signed something and then kept the terms faithfully for decades. I'm not expecting you to figure these out right now, guys. I just want you to understand the concepts underneath unconscious contracts. Because here's what I need you to hear. A vow like that feels like a fact. It is not a fact. It is a contract signed under alarm. And what was signed under alarm can be noticed in safety. And what can be noticed can be released. There are two contracts when it comes to substances. This is straight from Sarah's workbook, and it's the piece that unlocked everything for me. There isn't one contract in this relationship. There are two, and they run in opposite directions. And here's the difference from my childhood contract. Hold them side by side for a second. When I swore to stay small so my mom could shine, only one party signed. My mother never made a vow back. She never knew about this. I just felt it was important, and I tried to stay small so that she could stay shiny. She never knew the contract existed. That's how it almost always works with people. We sign alone. But with a substance, both parties signed. That is what makes this relationship unlike nearly any other contract you carry. The substance made a vow back. Okay, watch this. The first is the vow you made. I solemnly swear to reach for this in order to get through my days, no matter the cost to myself. Can you imagine that that could possibly be a contract that you created for yourself? Because in that moment, the cost to yourself doesn't matter. You need to get through your days. So I solemnly swear to reach for this in order to get through my days, no matter the cost to myself. You signed that. I would posit that pretty much everyone at some point felt that way. The second is the vow that that substance made to you. I solemnly swear to take care of you. I will comfort you when you are sad. I will be there at 2 a.m. I will quiet the voices. I will never, ever fail to show up, no matter the cost to you. Let me read that again. I solemnly swear to take care of you. I will comfort you when you are sad. I will be there at 2 a.m. I will quiet the voices. I will never, ever fail to show up, no matter the cost to you. Your substance has been keeping that vow with perfect attendance for as long as you've known it. Right?
Right.
No matter the cost to you. That's the clause where the harm lives, not in malice, because there's no malice in a jar or a bag or a box. Just in a contract whose terms were set long ago by a younger you, under alarm. Alarmed aloneness, with the only applicant who showed up for the job. Did it so well. Brilliant. And if there are two contracts, then a real release has to travel in both directions. You release yourself from your vow to keep reaching. And this is the tender part. You release it from its vow to keep saving you. We'll do both tonight. Hold that thought. Now, what does the reaching have to do with the vow? Let me give you the map that helped me, and I'll tell you honestly which parts of it are settled science and which parts are still being worked out. Because around here we say findings, not folklore. A researcher named Jaak Panksepp, I love his name so much. I think he's Dutch, Jaak Panksepp. It'll be in the deep dive, and it's also in the companion guide. Jaak Panksepp spent his career mapping what he called the circuits of emotion. care, panic and grief, rage, seeking, play, and more. There's 7 or 8, depending on who you're talking to. Shared, he's no longer with us, so people get to decide now for him. But it's shared across all mammals, according to his research. I hold his map as emerging science, still being worked out in humans, and I find it enormously helpful because looking at the longings that live in those circuits, warmth, comfort, belonging, knowing that you matter, when those go unmet, when we're depleted of the very chemistry of being held, the seeking system goes into overdrive, hunting for the fastest available substitute. And some of us learned early exactly where those longings were served. My grandmother was my first drug pusher. Love her. She didn't know any better. She made love in her oven, oodles of it. And the engineers of ultra-processed substances made sure the fastest available substitute was always in the pantry. She was especially enamored of that Pillsbury stuff that you bang on the counter and it pops open. She loved that.
Love it too.
Yeah. And the engineers know about roads your tongue doesn't. That's why sugar gets tucked into things you would never call sweet. The dressing, the bread, the savory things. You can't taste it, but your gut finds it anyway. And the wanting rises without your knowledge or your consent. That's not a character flaw, that's a supply chain. Your brain is constantly hunting for the sugar. Not the sweet necessarily, but the sugar. And here's how new this understanding is. Researchers at UCLA recently put this very pattern in a brain scanner. They found that women who felt more isolated, more alone, showed heightened activity in craving and motivation regions of the brain when shown images of sweet foods. One study, early findings, held with interest, not certainty. It's a new finding, but sit with what they were watching. The felt sense of aloneness and the pull toward the sweet thing aren't two problems. Researchers are starting to watch them happen in the same brain at the same time. The full study is in the deep dive that you'll be getting after this. It's so interesting to me to be adding this new science, and I truly appreciate that. Here's the sentence I want you to take home from the science. It was never the substance that was addictive. It was your brain's discovery of a solution. Your brain met an unmet longing, found something that answered it reliably, instantly, without requiring another human being to cooperate, and did what brilliant brains do with solutions that work. It kept the receipt. Now, I just want to say, I don't eat NF. Things that are not food to me, I don't eat them because I know what they do to my body and I know what they do to my mind. I don't know what it would be like to eat them now, if I would behave addictively. I don't know. But I do know that I don't have the pull for them. Is that a part of the addictive brain settling down? Is that a part that says you're no longer a pickle? I don't know. But I do want you to hear that file it under this is how we survive is why humans do what we do. That's not brokenness, that's engineering. And there's a reason the pull can feel automatic. Why you can find yourself halfway through something without remembering deciding to start. Once a solution has run long enough, the brain hands it to a different machinery, the machinery of habit. Discovery and habit live in different parts of the brain, which is why understanding your pattern doesn't instantly dissolve it, and why old workers sometimes pick up a shift without asking. If you want the full walkthrough of that, the actual brain regions, the citations, all of it, it's in the deep dive. And we are going to be spending a quiet hour on habits as well. And one more piece of science, and this one is well established. We regulate more easily together than alone. James Cone calls it social baseline theory, the finding that the human nervous system treats the presence of trusted others as its baseline condition and treats aloneness as the emergency. Now, I want to posit that trusted others is a really important piece. It can't be any old body standing next to you. It needs to be someone that you trust. And what happens when you're standing next to someone that you trust? You relax. You are calmer. You are centered. And you feel loved. And you are definitely out of the alarmed aloneness space. But when we are alone, our bodies and our brains treat it as an emergency. That's the thing. Remember that one. It's going to matter at the end of this hour. Okay. So a while back in a practice I learned through Sarah Peyton's work again, I did something even crazier than being grateful. I sat with my nut butter, actually took its seat, spoke as it. I interviewed a jar of nut butter. Yes, I did. Stay with me. I promise this lands. I asked it, what are you doing for me? What are you doing for me? What are you doing for me? And I will never forget the answer. It said, I bring you solace. It's like climbing to the top of a mountain. All you can see are the clouds below. The to-do lists are down there somewhere. The polls of other people down there. Your phone isn't even with you. For a few minutes, nothing can reach you. Ugh, solace. I was never craving nut butter. I was starving for 15 minutes above the clouds. Think about that. In that moment, for the first time in my life, I wasn't angry at it. I said, thank you. Thank you for being the only thing that could get me up that mountain. Think about the importance of that, to have something in your life that helped get you to that place. A magic member once did this same practice with a chocolate bar. And when they finished, they said they could see a life preserver wrapped around it. That's what it had been, not a temptation, a flotation device to keep me from drowning. I know you're understanding this. And I know it sounds a little wacky. It's a little wacky by thirds over IFS. If you don't believe in IFS, this might be a struggle for you. But I do believe these substances are saving us and have saved us and deserve thank yous. But before we practice, I know this room, most of you have walked with me for years. You know the myriad reasons we go to food. Some of you could teach that part yourselves. So tonight is not about why we go to food. Tonight is about something I've never taught before, which is kind of the relationship that you're in, because there are at least two kinds of workers, and they need two different thank yous. So please stay with me for a minute. I know this is going to make sense, and I apologize in advance. I just want to say, literally anything I've said so far could be a trigger. This one, I'm going to talk about food, specific ones, besides nut butter. So notice what happens in your brain and your body when I say this. The first kind, I'll show you with a dozen donuts from the drive-thru. You bite in, and by the middle of the first one, the taste is already gone. The excitement is gone. There is no thrill left anywhere in that box. And you eat the whole dozen anyway. And then, be honest, glance in the bag in case a 13th was hiding in there. Blind eating, automatic, eating with the lights off. Science has a kind word for that, and I want you to hear it. Researchers have shown that wanting and liking run on two separate systems in the brain. They can come apart. They're separate. The liking can die by the second bite, while the wanting keeps right on going on completely different machinery. So that is a ghost shift. A worker whose contract expired long ago, still showing up out of habit, still running the old route. The job is over. You're not eating food anymore. You're eating a memory. That's Berridge and Robinson's work. Decades of it in your deep dive with citations. I love reading the deep science on this. You were never weak. You were watching two brain systems operating independently. The wanting still running its route long after the liking had clocked out. Does this make sense? I know you understand it. Something tastes good for a couple of bites and then it's like, meh. But you keep eating it. It goes even deeper. Researchers now describe two roads to food reward: the conscious one through taste and a second road completely unconscious, running from the gut straight up to the brain. Vagus nerve, hello. Paying the reward system in calories, whether or not you enjoyed a single bite. The dozen gets finished on the second road. Your tongue checked out after bite 2, but your gut kept signing the receipts. That's in your deep dive 2. The second kind was my nut butter. And it could not have been more different. I cut an apple into the thinnest slices, drizzle a little on each one, and savor it slowly, unhurried, and it delivered. Every time, full solace, paid in full. The taste never died. The job never expired. That is a living contract, a worker still on active duty, still doing exactly what it was hired to do. You see the difference?
No.
It was doing a completely different job. That living contract has more than one face. A magic member showed me a third one just this week and gave me permission to share their words exactly as they wrote them. Quotes. We often talk about what food has done for us, whether it has been comfort, a way to numb, a best friend, or something else entirely. When I think about where I sit with that, the word at the top of my list is distraction. I remember spending hours scrolling through recipes, making lists of all the things I was going to try, and imagining how I was going to expand my culinary skills. It became a project, and like any project I became invested in, it would consume hours and hours of my time and attention. Looking back, I realized it wasn't always about eating the food. Sometimes food gave me something to plan, something to think about, something to focus on, something to distract me. So many hours. Sigh. Close quote. So did you hear it? Sometimes the job is finished before a single bite. Hours in the recipes, the lists, the imagined kitchen, the distraction fully delivered, and dinner hasn't even happened. And the science holds this one beautifully. The wanting system fires hardest at the cue and the chase. Anticipation is its own event in the brain. You can spend a whole evening in the wanting and never once need the plate. A living contract being paid in the planning. There's a book I've quoted for years, The Molecule of More, by Daniel Lieberman and Michael Long. It's a little drier. I don't think we read it in the Magic. It's a little drier. And it says this in one line, that we keep trying to recreate isn't a reward. It's the promise of one. That member spent whole evenings inside the promise. So have I, so have you, I'm sure. And here is why this distinction matters so much. They release differently. The expired contracts, the ones where we mindlessly eat and it doesn't taste good, mostly release through awareness. That's why I let go of the ultra-processed stuff almost easily. My body was telling the truth about it. Real food had gotten more interesting, and the contract was already dead. I just had to notice the corpse. I am not saying it's easy, but for me, that's the way it felt. When the taste is gone and the reaching remains, seeing it clearly is most of the release. The disinterest is always on its way. Disinterest, think about that. Agnostic versus loving or hating something. But the living contracts, the ones that still deliver, those are the ones that hold on for years. Mine did. I released all of my weight and I was, God bless me, Crystal Baser, starting in 2018, November of 2018, I was done with my weight loss phase. Let's just call it that. 2018, November. It's what now? Almost November of, well, it's August of 2026. Is that where we are? Help me. It's 8 years. 8 years. The living contract with nut butters lasted until September of 2022. And the reason that I remember it was that was when I studied it with Sarah Peyton, and it just hit me like a brick in on my head. I had still struggled, mostly measuring but taking every ounce, every eighth of an ounce, as much as I could of that nut butter. It was still pulling on me like the old stuff. And I know you understand this. So the ones that still deliver, those are the ones that hold on for years. And no amount of noticing kills them because there's nothing dead to notice. They're working. A living contract needs the full ceremony, the gratitude, the understanding, and the release in both directions. But that's what I want to practice tonight. Most of us aren't employing one worker. We're running a small staff. Some living, some ghosts, which is why Just Stop never stood a chance. It meant firing the entire staff in one afternoon, no notice, no replacements hired. No wonder every part of you refused. So here is your diagnostic, and let me make it concrete. Question 1, does yours still deliver? When you have it, is there still real solace in it, real company, real quiet, whatever it's giving you? Or are you eating a memory, chasing a taste that left years ago? And question 2, and this is the tell, is there something you genuinely struggle to say no to? Is there something you genuinely struggle to say no to for any length of time? Something that has survived every plan, every program, every burst of resolve. That struggle is not weakness, it's a signal. Where the no won't hold, there is almost always a living contract underneath, still being paid, still worth a closer look. I promise this is going to make sense to you. That's one doorway in to think about that particular thing. Tonight's practice is the other. Sit with that one for one breath and hear this before we go on. If yours still delivers, if it's the living kind, the hardest kind, that is not your weakest spot. It's your realest job. The hardest one to release is hard precisely because the longing underneath it is real. And for the living ones, one more question, and hear me carefully because you may not have the answer yet, and that is okay too. I didn't know what mine was doing for me until I sat with it, the way we're about to sit together. So don't strain for this one. All you need walking into the practice is the thing you struggle to release. It can be literally anything. The shape will introduce itself when you're across the table from it, but so you recognize it when it arrives, a space, a cocoon of unhurried time like mine, a companion, a blanket that turns the volume down, a project, somewhere for a restless mind to go. It does not need to be food, by the way. A job paid in planning. The shape of the job tells you the shape of the new hire, and a memory needs no replacement at all. But a living job does, and it has to match. So before we practice, here's the hope. I want you to really hear it. This teaching asked you to change nothing, not one thing. No worker has to be fired in the last 10 minutes. And yet something has already shifted just by seeing clearly, because awareness works like that. You cannot unknow which kind yours is. In a job you can finally see is a job you can finally thank. Thank, which is exactly where we're going next. And I don't mean that narcissistic ex that you've let go of. Just saying. Okay. Now it's your turn, and we're not going to do this as a worksheet. We're going to do it as a visit. And I'll guide you the whole way. You just bring your honesty. Keep your pen nearby, and we'll write at the very end to keep what you find. But for now, let's just relax. And let your eyes close if that's comfortable. And if closed eyes aren't comfortable, for some of us, they're not. Just rest your gaze somewhere low and soft. You're in charge the whole way through. Nothing happens here without your consent. Let's take a breath. Can you inhale quickly and let the exhale be a little lower, a little longer than the inhale? Like setting down a bag you've been carrying since this morning. And if your mind is already making lists of all the things that you've done in the last week that you're annoyed about, of course it is. Minds plan. It's one of the oldest ways they take care of us. So just notice the list. Thank it even. And let it wait on the porch. Nothing on it is needed in this room. Now let a place appear. And there are many doors into this one. Whatever comes to mind first is probably exactly right. It might be the place of the last time or the place of the regular time. The thing that pulls you nightly, weekly, or the place you go in the toughest times. And it might not be a room at all. It might be the process. The drive-through lane. The grocery aisle you always drift down. The glow of your phone with the delivery app open. The pantry door. The kitchen counter at midnight, lit by refrigerator light. The checkout line with its little shelf of exactly your thing. Doing the thing you don't want to do anymore and keep doing. Wherever you and your worker have spent the most time together, let that be the place. For many of us, it's a kitchen, maybe your car, maybe a certain chair at a certain hour. Let it be there around you. The light, the time of day, the quiet. This is a safe visit. You're only here to talk. There's a table in this place and 2 chairs. Take one. And now, invite your worker to take the other chair. Let it arrive how it arrives. The jar, the bag, the box. Or just the whole idea of it sitting across from you. And notice something. It came immediately. It always does. Perfect attendance. That was always the deal. Let's take another breath. Ask it silently or in a whisper. What do you do for me? And then listen. Don't compose the answer. Receive it. It might say solace, company, quiet, a project for a restless mind. It might show you a picture instead of words. Mine showed me a mountaintop. Whatever comes, let it finish. Now let it say the whole promise it has been keeping. All these years, without one missed moment. I solemnly swear to take care of you by everything you just heard, no matter the cost to you. Feel where that lands in your body. Chest, throat, belly, especially that last clause, no matter the cost to you. Where does that one land? And for me, especially the opening. Oh, this makes me feel so warm and held. I solemnly swear to take care of you because we know that it did and that it does. How does it feel to hear those words spoken to you at all? For some of us, no one ever said them before. And notice you made a promise too, long ago, maybe before you could have put it in words. I solemnly swear to reach for you. In order to, you don't have to hunt for the in order to. Ask your body, not your head. What were we protecting? What were we surviving? In order to get through my days? In order to not feel alone? In order to have one thing that is mine? And if a face rises while you listen, someone a younger you made this promise for, let them stand at the edge of the room. They don't need to speak. And if no face comes, that is just as true. Underneath both promises, there is one longing. Maybe solace, belonging, rest, mattering, quiet. Find yours. Let it name itself. And hear this while you hold it. That longing was never wrong. It was never wrong. It was never the problem. It was the point. Now, the deepest you, not the part that's signed. The one who was never the vow. Some traditions call it the self. I think of it as the curious self, the calm one, the one who can look at anything without flinching. That one asks two questions. First, did I hear this vow? Wait for it. Yes, I heard it. Second, do I want to keep it? Listen honestly. If something in you says not yet, honor that. Not yet is information and it's welcome here. Some contracts release in layers. Trust is a big one. Trust is a big one. Trust in yourself, trust in your family, trust in the people around you, trust in the system, trust in your process, trust in your own strength. Yours may simply have more to say first. But if the answer is no, then reach across that table, however reaching happens in this place, and give it the sentence it has earned, out loud in a whisper if you can. Thank you Thank you for doing this job when nothing and no one else showed up for it. Thank you. Thank you. There's no need for apologies at this table. Not to yourself and not to it, because there was never a villain at it. You were doing the best you could with what you had, and so was it. Two parties keeping a contract that made sense at the moment it was signed. Nothing to forgive, nothing to confess, just a contract that is ready to be complete. Notice what happens to any fury you carried in here tonight. Fury at this thing was always a misunderstanding, like being angry with someone for years and then discovering they were honestly trying to help. Feel what the fury does when the misunderstanding clears. Another deep breath. And now the concept of release. It's one of my favorite words. There are two contracts, so we release twice. First, yours. I release myself from this vow. I revoke this contract. Say that to yourself if it feels right. I release myself from this vow. I revoke this contract. And instead of this vow, I give myself the blessing too. And make the blessing generous and as exact as you can. A blessing that answers the contract directly. Not just live well, the real replacement. My blessing to rest without earning it. Think about that one. My blessing to rest without earning it. My blessing to find solace in more places than a jar. My blessing to take up the space I was born for. My blessing was allowing that I deserved the solace I can get from my woods. And then across the table, you can say, I release you from your promise to me. You don't have to save me anymore. You're off the clock. Does that feel a little scary to say? Watch what it does when you say that. Some workers seem to take off an apron. Some just get smaller. Mine did. It was enormous when it spoken afterward. It looked like what it was, a jar. Something I can look at now with affection and general gratitude. I understand what it was doing for me. And now I have something that actually works and works so much better. And if grief comes, let it. You're ending the longest employment relationship of your life, and you're doing it with honor. Now let your body sign the release. Let your body sign the release. A breath that drops on its own, shoulders coming down, a jaw unclenching. Stay right here until something settles. Settling is how the body signs. One last look before you leave the table. The other chair is open now. The position is open. Don't hire anyone yet. Just let a shape appear. the shape the new help will need: a space, a companion, a blanket, a project, a spike of real joy, just the shape. We'll hold interviews in a few minutes. My awareness about the woods came a little bit later. And now come back, let the place fade. Feel the actual chair under you, the actual room. And when you're ready, let your eyes open. Okay. If you can, write 4 short lines. First one, what it said it does for you. Second one, the vow you heard. The third one, the blessing you gave. And the fourth one, the shape of the new hire. Mine was my woods. Write them down because there's something I've learned about this work. The release can be so complete that you forget what it was like to live inside the vow. The page is your record. Future you will want proof of how far you've walked. And if tonight's visit doesn't finish, if your vow said not yet, your page holds that too, with honor. The full step-by-step map of everything we just did is in your companion guide. So you can make this visit again, and I will make sure that this recording is available so you can go back and listen. Before we come all the way back, one more thing, and it matters more than it looks. Something I've been learning about shame. Shame is installed socially. It goes in through other people, an audience, real or imagined, which means it doesn't diffuse in isolation. It diffuses the same way it arrived, socially, by being heard all the way through by someone who accompanies rather than advises. So tonight, the room is the receiver. You don't have to share a word of what you wrote. Just put one thing in the chat: candle, a heart, the word held, to say, I did this and I'm here. Watching others in this room, walking with you, that's not reassurance. That's resonance. Every symbol you see is another person who just renegotiated a very old contract, one screen away from you. And every symbol you send is diffusing a little of someone else's shame just by receiving them. I would say candle, but it's pretty warm in here right now. I want to say one more little thing about this, how little this costs you. Receiving each other like this, no advice, no fixing, just hearing all the way through, runs on a fraction of the fuel that fixing burns. Think about that. When we're trying to fix everyone else, oh my goodness, it's exhausting. When we can accompany them, walk with them, be with them, a fraction of the fuel. There's a reason for that. It doesn't cost much to stand with someone and hold them. So here's what happened after my thank you to my nut butter. I looked up. There are woods right behind my house, right there. And when you step in, it's like crossing a barrier. Sound doesn't travel the same in there. The chaos doesn't follow you past the tree line. It really doesn't. It's crazy. Here's why that handoff actually took. This is the shape of the job again. Nut Butter's job was a space, slow, unhurried, unreachable. And the woods, now I have to put shoes on, but it's right there. I don't even have to go there. I can just imagine it. But it's literally there. The entrance to the park is right next to my house. By the time I'm under the trees, I'm inside a slow, unhurried, unreachable stretch of time. That new hire matched the contract's terms. You see where I'm going with this? You may not be able to figure out exactly, but I'm telling you, it will come to you, especially if you sit quietly with it. And that's why it held. It's crazy. I was obsessed until I did this work. And since then, meh. And the interesting part is I can have a little, and that's not something I generally say about ultra-processed garbage. I don't think those ever deserve a place back in this pie hole. But if I had tried to replace a space with a spike, with something quick, the old worker would still be on payroll. You see where I'm saying this? See what I end up. The secret about the woods, even when I can't get out there, is I can close my mind and I can calm. I know I have it anytime. A new hire you can carry in your imagination never calls in sick. And guess what? Walking in my woods, zero shame. As a matter of fact, it's like a checkbox. I sometimes wonder about that pull and why it's not there anymore. I truly believe it's releasing this contract and thanking it instead of wanting to punch it. It was never the nut butter's fault. It was something that worked in the moment and it worked brilliantly. And I want to say that was 2022. You guys know what happened between 2022 and now? A lot happened for me. My dad had heart surgery and then ended up in rehab and then ended up in palliative care, and adios. I was his power of attorney. I was the one that had to call and tell people, tell the driver's license people that he could not drive anymore. I had to turn him in. I had to do things. I had to tell the doctor, no, doctor, no. He drinks a lot. You need to know that, in front of my dad. Those were hard times. I had to watch my mom leave all the time, sometimes come back. Dementia is a bitch. That all happened after this. And nut butter did not pull me. What pulled is realizing how important those woods are to me. That's what pulled. I hope this makes sense to you because it's a different kind of addictive behavior. It's different. And you can shift those if you sit with it and if you stay with what is really true. Most of you know that for most of my adult life, I lived in abject fear of regaining that weight. That fear ran the show from a back office every single day. And through these recent hard seasons, my body changed the way bodies do in seasons of grief and stress. The old terror never showed back up, though, because that terror was never really about my body. It was about losing the fight with the worker. When the contract released, the fear lost its job, too. My body and I are in conversation now. I notice when I'm hungry. I notice when I'm full. I notice when I'm done eating. I notice when I don't need anything more. I notice when I'm fine. It turned out the price was a thank you. And more noticing of the individual instruments in the orchestra. I want to show you what this looks like from the inside while it's still underway, because release almost never looks like triumph. I'm almost done here, guys. I know we're running over. A magic member on a recent call described their evening. They wanted the something all evening. Didn't fight it, didn't white knuckle, just kept living the evening. Eventually, they had a little, and a couple of pieces in, they set it down. It didn't taste right. They were done. The old days would have meant finishing it all. Nothing about that evening looked heroic, and it was a standing ovation. That's what the messy middle looks like. Not refusal, disinterest. Disinterest, being agnostic, and arriving quietly on its own schedule. Your mountaintop might not be my woods, although you can come and share it with me anytime. It might be a phone call, a 20-second hug, a room of people who know exactly what 2 a.m. feels like. Which, may I point out, is this room. That's not a sales line, that's social baseline theory. Cohn's finding that we regulate more easily together than alone. The magic exists because of it. Make sure that you take time to recognize what this new hire actually looks like. A space, a spike of joy, a companion, a blanket, a project. Really important to assign importance to it. I cannot tell you how much gratitude I have at the thought that I can walk out into my woods. Amplifying the appreciation for it removes the desire for the other thing. I do want to say, whatever your plan, your practitioner, or medication is serving you right now, keep it. My work walks beside anything. I think you've figured that out from what we talked about tonight. And not instead. Nothing tonight asked you to set any of it down. We widened the roster. That's all. And widening the roster doesn't mean building a crowd. One person who can hear you all the way through, even once a month, counts. Honestly, a crowd sounds exhausting. Find the job, learn its shape, thank the worker, release both contracts, and then gently, gradually, hire new help that matches the shape. And when the old worker picks up a shift some night, drift is information, not failure. More days than not is the goal. Not every day. More days than not. A gentle heads up before we land, because I'd be leaving something out if I didn't say it. When we start shifting how and when we use food, everything gets louder for a while. Everything. The highs and the lows, the good and the hard, all of it turned up. That's not a setback. That's your nervous system waking up from a long numbness. And it's actually the surest sign the shift is real. So be extra tender with yourself this week. The volume settles. So here is what I call the ultimate reframe all the way through. You were never in a war. You were in a relationship with the only friend who could always make it. And tonight you didn't end it with a declaration of war. You ended it with a thank you, an understanding. No villain at the table, no apology owed in either direction, and a release that traveled both ways, and a wider roster. So a reminder, it'll either be in your inbox or here in the Magic, the deep dive. There's also a place in the Magic membership called Beyond the Scale. And in there will be all of the information along with this recording. I'll share that location as well. If you can find it from the app, Transform My Path, and you can also find it on my website by logging in. The deep dive is so fun. It's the science underneath it with citations for those who want to be certain. And the companion guide, which carries tonight's map with the full practice laid out step by step so you can walk it again on your own. I'm also including my own unconscious contracts, which are fascinating to me. They have been forever. The moving parts, the sample vows, the in order twos, and the full template. So you have everything you need to keep working these on your own or talking about them in the Magic. Favorite topics. You should get the recording probably tomorrow because, it's almost bedtime for me. It's 5:09 here on the West Coast, but it is almost bedtime. We'll be talking again on Wednesday, September 2nd, and then again October 7th, November 4th. I'll put these all as events in the Magic. It's going to be the first Wednesday of each month. If you're meeting me for the first time through this recording, this is what we do here. The Magic is a room like this one, the daily version, the company, the whole lecture library, all of it. The door is at transformwithsonia.com and it's open. Come find us. 2 a.m. is easier in a room like this. One more thing said with love. Tonight was teaching, not treatment. Thank you for being here for the beginning of this with love and light. Let's open it up. What's coming up for you? Any questions? Anybody feel like talking about this? Anybody feel like, oh my God, Sonia, I'm so tired. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk anymore. This make any sense?
Yes, it does. And I just have to stick with it. Was that you, Deborah? I didn't mean to.
Yep, that's okay.
Yes, I got to just stick with it and work hard.
Yeah.
Or harder.
Or relax and enjoy and see what comes up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love you all.
Yeah. Love you too.
The first sentence you said made me cry. I can't remember it, or I'd write it down.
I can tell you what it is. It's basically the whole premise for the whole talk.
Yep.
I'm grateful to the foods I used to reach for. Yep. It's the opening of my book. It's the concept that has been very important from the very beginning for me. The idea that this does not have to be a battle. It doesn't have to be an argument. It doesn't have to be gripping the steering wheel. There's no enemy.
Mm-mm.
Even in childhood, you could say that you had crappy parents who didn't know what they were doing, and they were constantly not giving you what you needed. And you could also say I had great parents, but they didn't know what I needed either. But the fact is, we braced ourselves as children, and we used all sorts of tools. But we're not 5 anymore. And we probably don't need those tools anymore, but they become so ingrained. I just hope this process and this understanding allows you some grace and allows you to recognize you're exactly where you're supposed to be. That whatever glimmer you got from tonight, whatever made sense for you, even if it was confusing and you're going to need to go back and do some more, but even if it was confusing, that means that something was coming up.
I just want to say I love the direction you've gone with the book and with the magic. It's awesome.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you. I appreciate that. You too, Jill.
Me and Deb were talking today. A long time.
Nice.
We've been
Well, I'm
talking
glad.
a lot, yeah. And it is. I've been saying that. Just and what you were teaching tonight, I kind of felt like I was already either releasing or felt like because it wasn't, nothing was having a pull like it used to. It was different. It was like it doesn't serve me kind of thing. I was answering the question,
Mm-hmm.
what have you done for me? So I like that thanking it, I wrote thank you, but it doesn't work for me anymore.
Well, and that's an interesting point as well. that I didn't mention, but there may have been something in the past that worked for you until it didn't, and you might not have even realized what you were doing that was releasing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really important distinction, and that's what happened to me. I'm still amazed that I don't have the pull to the nut butters that I thought I would forever. I never thought I would let that go. And the interesting thing, if I'm sure none of you has ever had an ex. Sure, none of you has ever had an ex. Okay? Okay. Usually letting go of an ex goes from that love place to that hate place, right? But think about the agnostic. Think about the I don't really give a shit anymore. Think about that. That's what we're talking about here. We want to thank this part for doing its job. But I think that's what happens. I think that we actually move to an agnostic place. And when we can release it, because gripping the steering wheel is hate all over the place. When we can release it, just imagine what there.
It was kind of nice to, I mean, I missed it when the person in the magic did this with you and released that item, but like mine was nut butters too, but particularly having it on bread and whatever
Yeah.
childhood thing my whole life. And it was very comforting. I never put it together that it went along with alarmed aloneness. And I mean, I've released it a while ago. I don't keep it in the house. It doesn't serve my household anyways, so why would it be here in my house? Occasionally it's here for my granddaughter, but as soon as she's not here, it either goes home with her or I throw it out because it doesn't need to be here. But going through that and thinking about it, and all of a sudden it was like, and back to a particular incident where, like, the first time I felt alarmed aloneness, and it was like that revolved all around that food and
Yeah.
that like, and realizing that was something I could make for myself as a child that would fulfill that empty spot,
Need.
and that like it was like, whoa. And I was pretty young then too. And yeah, like it didn't re it released emotionally part of it, even though I've already released that food, it still was good to do the exercise and release the emotional.
Well, and thank you for that. That's an important, I mean, if you think about something that you have already released and you think about, I mean, that's good work. And that's work that was a strong neural pathway for years, for decades. And that's really good work. And I think it's important to recognize it. And that adds to the building blocks of our recovery. That adds to the building blocks of our healing. Every time we can recognize something that we've done that has been pivotal.
Yeah.
This exercise can be done in a bunch of different ways. I just really appreciate the context of the equal contract between myself and the substance, because that substance is performing a very important duty. Very important. And if we can recognize what that is, doesn't even have to be exactly, but if we can recognize what it is doing for us, like I said, solace, space, breathing room for 20 minutes, it's not the same as the first bite or two of a dozen. It's not the same at all.
Yeah.
They're both addictive behaviors, but they're very different. Releasing gluten from my system was a huge help when gluten was so painful for me. It was very helpful. I'm not saying that my journey was easier or harder, but I do know that it started 20 some years ago with releasing gluten. This stuff takes time, but it's incredibly rewarding. So I really
when I
appreciate.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
I
go ahead,
first
Donna.
heard the question, what have you done for me or what are you doing? I expect the answer to be, I'm destroying your life. I am destroying your health. I am, but tonight I heard I am deeply loved.
Oh, oh,
That
isn't
was a
that
very
beautiful?
different response than I was afraid to
Hmm.
ever ask that because I didn't think the answer would ever be anything but a negative.
That's just beautiful.
And
How did that feel?
even knowing that, even knowing that negative answer doesn't stop me from wanting it. I mean, none of that, but knowing how deeply, I mean, I get teary. It just filled my heart.
Yeah. That
Knowing
was the
what the,
shock for me. That was the shock for me as well. And Donna, I just think that's wonderful. That makes this whole hour worth it. You and Kelly, I'm sure. Did anyone else feel? I know you just said something, Jill, and you said something, Deb. You said something, Kathy. I hope that this is making sense for you. If you still want to talk about this some more in the magic, of course, we're here. This is the kind of thing I love to talk about. And the idea that we can shift like that in the span of an hour, tremendous. Does that mean it's going to change overnight? No, but you can see how this will change the flavor, pun intended.
It's really got my brain thinking about the difference between the word addiction and the coping mechanism too, because
Yeah.
that like it's been in the back of my head thinking about the addiction word and but yeah, it's yeah.
Well, and it's interesting too, because I certainly don't want to take away someone's tools.
Mm-mm.
I certainly don't want to take away someone's perspective or call that different, but I can say for certain that these substances were coping mechanisms for me. And they were coping mechanisms in so many different ways. And that's
And
the incredible piece with food.
I think there were, at least right now, the way I'm looking at it, there were stages when I weighed almost 300 pounds that in my brain in that moment, it was 100% an addiction because there's no way that I could ever get to the point I am right now sitting here and get to the state in my mind where I could get past that. So it was an addiction at that point because my brain had crossed over and there was no, so I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but yeah.
Well, what you're saying is actually another research project that I've got going right now, which
Okay.
is that people aren't necessarily addicted for life.
Right. Okay.
That's exactly what you're describing. Because I understand that too. I'm not sure if I could have come to this place if I hadn't gone through the restrictions of that program. I'm not sure. I know that it was incredibly helpful for me to rigidly follow a plan. I never thought I could lose the weight. So this helped me rigidly follow a plan, lose the weight, and get really, really, really comfortable with peace and wanting that more than anything. Wanting that more than anything. So the quiet, like just as a reminder, the quiet protocol is getting lots of rave reviews from people. If you haven't signed up for it yet, it's on my website, the quiet protocol. If you can pay me money if you want to, if you're part of the magic, member access, one word. Let me know if you have trouble finding it. And there's two parts to it. There's the quiet protocol that gives you a morning a morning email that's short. Promise mine aren't normally, but this one is short every morning. And then there's a text twice a day if you want it that reminds you to do what we call a touchstone. And I brought a few. I have some really fun touchstones. I got this one when Nikki was born. She's a Valentine's Day baby. Touchstones, instead of a sticky note in your kitchen or by your desk or in a place where you are constantly reminded that that you can use something. This one is just glorious for me. It's cool and it's so smooth. What is this on a lapis lazuli, I think? So thank you for being so present. Thank you for walking in this weird journey with me, because this is a weird thing. It's a weird thing, don't you think? It's a little weird. You might not be able to explain it to somebody who doesn't have any kind of issues with their food, but I think anybody that has an issue could probably figure it out. So I would appreciate it if you know someone that could benefit from this. I would love to have you share it with them. I'm going to send out an email, and this is the last quiet hour that will be shareable, but this one is, and I really want people to consider hopping into the magic. There's so many things in there now that if you're not interested in the phone calls, there's so much more here. So, and I personally am very interested in the phone calls. They're very helpful to me. Thank you all. Appreciate your time and effort, your vulnerability, and the honoring of your time with me. Thank you.
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Love you. Love you all.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.